Have you ever felt stuck in the life your family forged for you? Felt doomed to repeat the patterns you've learned about emotions, conflict, and avoidance? What if the real problem is the story you've learned from them? That this is who we are, and that this is all we do. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Chandler as we look at the film Back to the Future and what it teaches us about avoidance, family dynamics, and learning to be the protagonist of your own life. Join us as we discover that you don't really need a time machine in order to build a better future. I'm Brent Diggs, and this is the Full Mental Bracket, where science and storytelling meet to help you level up and tell a better story with your life. Good time, period, bracketeers. We're coming at you with another episode. Join us today in the stunt host chair is Andrew Chandler.
Hey.
Andrew Chandler is an artist in every sense of the word. The man is an illustrator, he's an actor, he's a voice actor, and he is a writer.
That's right.
As well as a movie fan.
Yes, definitely a movie fan.
In fact, Andrew has written this very book.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
Well, this is my second addition to my Postmodern Fables collection. The first one being Terry Fails. This one's called Taylor Flails. They're some of the same characters, but they're more postmodern fables. Stories that you may be familiar with, but are kind of twisted and turned upside down and inside out. And I'm actually working on the third one right now.
A fun retelling of classic tales.
Yes, fun, sometimes a little dark, sometimes a little weird, but you might recognize them if you squint your eyes hard enough.
Nice. So where can we find these?
So you can find them right now through my Lulu bookstore. I'm working to get them on Amazon, but I got to fix some of the criteria in order to do that. So you can go to my website, andrewchandler.net, and there will be a link there for the books.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Well, as good as Andrew's books are, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Back to the Future.
That's right.
The movie from 1985.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorites, written and directed by good old Robert Zemeckis, who seems to be able to stay relevant all these years later, produced by Spielberg. And one of my favorite movies. I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, and a thing that I think we have to get out of the way right off the bat, you see a lot of memes today, is like, I was conscious and alive and actually in high school in 85 when this came out. And 30 years seemed like a long time. 1955, those were old people, those were dinosaurs, that was the dark ages. And so now that it's over 40 years now from when this movie was recorded in 85, it seems unfair that time has traveled that fast.
Yeah, long time. I was very young when I first saw this. I saw an edited TV version where some things were cut out. Some of the language was changed, but watched it over and over again and thought it was so cool. Thought Marty McFly was the coolest guy ever. Wanted to ride my skateboard through the streets. Oh, yeah. Wanted to fight bullies, things like that. So, yeah.
So what's your favorite scene of this movie, if there's one?
I was trying to think of what my favorite scene might be now. I know when I was younger, definitely the scene where he takes the kid's soapbox little derby car, breaks the top off and turns it into a skateboard and is racing through the streets and running away from Biff and the bullies. That was probably my favorite scene at the time. Still a great scene, just well filmed and
as soon as you started talking, I like, what are the odds it involves a dump truck full of manure?
Right. a recurring character of its own in the trilogy, but nowadays, having gone and watched it again recently, I'm just floored by Michael J. Fox's performance and his acting chops, and Crispin Glover, and they're so funny together. And I think about the scene where George is hanging up his wet laundry, and Marty's trying to talk him, give him a pep talk, and just their back and forth is just so spot on, and so that's probably one of my favorite scenes that I remember now.
So let's kind of go through the movie. The movie opens with a shot of a whole bunch of clocks, and I didn't quite realize it at first, but this is kind of an homage to the film The Time Machine from 1960.
Yeah.
And that's the movie I saw a lot of times. It's kind of old by today's. It's kind of George Powell, if that means anything to you. It's kind of primitive special effects, but yet beautiful at the same time. And that movie starts exactly the same way. And once you start seeing the similarities between these two movies, a little light bulb comes on.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of little throwbacks in Back to the Future to this movie. You can tell that the director and the writers were probably big fans.
They knew what they were doing. So if you go and watch The Time Machine, if you go in the future, there's two breeds of people-ish humanoids. There's the Eloi, who are delicate and gentle, and they're very kind, but they're also helpless. And then you have the Morlocks, who are large and hairy and nasty, and they prey and eat the Eloi, and it's not a very happy story.
Right.
But if you watch Back to the Future, you can kind of see some shadows going back and forth there.
Sure. Yeah. That old movie, was definitely of its time, exaggerated fears and worries about what was going to happen with just the atomic age and things like that. And so I think worst case scenario, you think about humans evolving into some primordial, scary monster beasts that prey on the younger and the weaker and the more beautiful. I can see it.
Now, if you watch the early 2000s remake of The Time Machine, you might think that the Morlocks are like hunting predators and they show up with nets and Jeremy Irons and stuff. But no, in the book and in the movie, the Morlocks rely on behavioral patterns. So over the years, people were trained they heard the air raid siren and they would run to shelter. And in millions of years in the future, when they play the siren, the Eloi run into the caves where they get ate.
Yeah.
And so these behavioral patterns, they was they are not these tough guys. They're just like, hey, I notice how we can trigger other people's behavior and take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah.
I hope there's no one that shows up in this movie that does that. that guy would be a bully.
Yeah. You don't like seeing people prey on other people. But it happens.
So when this movie opens, it's interesting because they show Michael J. Fox's shoes, they show the back of his jacket, they show his skateboard. I was clocking it. They don't show his face for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that because he was like a huge star.
Yeah. Yeah, and even when they do show it, he has these huge aviator sunglasses on, and you can't see his eyes. Yeah,
it's like kind of making a joke over "We've got him."
I think so.
They're just kind of toying with the audience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was a huge star. He was 3 big movies that came out that year.
Plus the TV show he'd been doing.
Family Ties was still going on. Yeah, the guy was stretched pretty thin, but still gave some amazing performances.
He was good. So we see him. He's late for school. He shows up at school, and the school principal states the story problem. He says, no McFly has ever amounted to anything in the history of this town. And impulsively, Marty says, well, history's going to change.
Yeah.
A little on the nose there.
Yeah. Yeah.
More literally than anyone realized at that moment in time.
Yeah, there's plenty of foreshadowing and little Easter eggs and things where you can see what's going to unfold throughout the rest of the movie. Yeah.
As I rewatched this, because I'd seen it before, but not very many times. Strangely, as I talk to my friends about their favorite movies, they turn out to be not necessarily my favorite movies, and so I get to dig them back up again and learn from them all over again. And so what's interesting about this is that they compare Marty to George over and over again.
Yeah,
you see that they're contrasted against each other. You realize from the principal that Marty's kind of in the same boat as his father, George. And even before we meet George, the girlfriend compares Marty. It's like, you sound just like your dad. So already they've been thrown in contrast against each other, and we haven't even met George yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you see Marty pushing against that. Their problems at school don't necessarily seem to be the same, but they're problems nonetheless. Yeah. And, Marty's definitely has his own trajectory in mind, and it seems to deviate quite a bit from his father's
he seems to have more agency. He seems to be a little more of a protagonist. He's not without flaws, but at least he's not a passenger in his life.
Right. Yeah.
Not yet, at least. You feel like there's a chance for him to get out, but you're not certain how long that window is going to stay open.
Yeah.
So when we do meet George, we go home and we see George, in the present of 1985, and he's being victimized. We see him humiliated and powerless. We see that there's a Morlock in his house. There's this big hairy guy, Biff, just preying on on George's patterns of helplessness. There's just a large predator in his house.
Yeah. Yeah, Biff just walks all over him. Marty recognizes it right away, and it seems like George is oblivious to it, but he's not. He tells Marty, I'm just not good with confrontation, and so Marty's pretty upset, not just because the car is wrecked and he can't go, away with his girlfriend for the weekend, but he's also upset that his father is being bullied and victimized once again.
It's really egregious, man, because, if you think back at it, Biff crashes the family car while he was drinking. He takes no responsibility, blames George for loaning him a faulty car. He has George working nights and weekends to do his work for him so he can look good for the bosses. And it's so blatant. It's so over the top. It's so something that you couldn't believe actually happened in real life. And you say, how did this happen? How could this ever get this bad? Why didn't somebody do something?
Yeah. Do adults act this way?
Exactly. This seems like a schoolyard bully business.
It does.
If only there was a time machine, we could figure out what happened with the schoolyard bully. We'd know where this came from.
We'd figure it out.
So we look at the family there, the McFlys, and they are stunted and beat down.
Yeah.
The house is dimly lit. It's cluttered. I don't know if you're from my age bracket and you see mom show up with these dark blue, wide collar, dark blue, dark red, you're like, that was 1976. In 1976, everyone was wearing red, white, and blue. So in 85, she's pulling out her 76 wardrobe, putting it on.
Yeah.
She's got some extra weight. She's taking slugs of vodka. She is not doing good.
Yes, bicentennial.
She's not
fashion.
doing good.
There's big bags under her eyes. She's drinking her vodka. She's she's heating up the microwave TV dinners and whatnot, and lamenting the past. Still thinking about that dance where she fell in love with their father.
And then if you think about it, when she says that, if you watch her eyes, her mouth says one thing, her eyes says something different. Yeah. And that was the day I knew we'd be together forever. And her mouth is making a Hallmark movie. Her eyes are like, that's when the judge lowered the gavel and the prison doors closed.
Yeah.
And that was when my life was over, is I got stuck with George and then we went nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. She has regrets for sure. Yeah.
So if you look back more in around the rest of the family, George is wearing hair grease. He's wearing his glasses from the 50s. His older brother, Marty's older brother, is wearing his McDonald's uniform. And he can't even get a ride to work. He's got to take the bus to work at McDonald's. No one protests what Biff has done. They've given up fighting. They're like, Biff is like a lion. He's a predator in their life. There's no point fighting. We fought before. Nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
They've given up.
It's their reality. Yeah.
Everyone's like broken and hopeless except for Marty. Marty seems to have hope, but then how long can that hope last if nothing's ever going to change? Is he going to become broken down like them? Or could something magically, technologically, flux capacitorly change his trajectory?
Yeah, he did. He's young enough where his hopes and dreams have not been dashed. He's still, he thinks he's going to be a rock star, even though, they told him that he was too loud, at the audition. But
by Huey Lewis himself.
By Huey Lewis.
You're too loud. He's playing the #1 song of 1985, and he's like, "You'll never make it, kid."
That's right. But he's obviously got some sort of skill on his guitar. Yeah. He's got a beautiful girlfriend who's in love with him. So his he's still got that light in his eyes, but he kind of sees it maybe off in the distance, dwindling a little bit. Yeah.
Like the photo, his hope might be fading.
Right.
Yeah. That's what happens. A hope doesn't last forever. You have to rekindle it.
Yeah.
So as we see with the McFlys, we all inherit family patterns. We learn things that are modeled, even if we don't intend to, even if we don't want to. It's like we get this message. This is what our family does. These are who we are. Mm-hmm. In my family, I got the message, our family doesn't go to college. And for Marty, he gets the message, our family doesn't fight back. We just accept whatever fate deals with us, and we just roll over and play dead.
Yeah.
So the whole pattern just kind of centers on George. George, he's talking to Marty. He's making excuses to his own son. I know I should have fought back, but, like you said, conflict is not my thing, He's trapped in this pattern. He had years of no confidence, and then he's got years of having no confidence and being rolled over, and he can't even imagine what it would be like to be different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure at this point Marty's wondering, what happened? Has he always been like this? Or, it's like, it doesn't even seem like we could be related. Like we're just completely different animals. Yeah.
I don't know how many has happened to you, Bracketeers, but there was more than one time when I was growing up that I was convinced that I was adopted. There's no way I'm related to these people that are raising me. I don't understand where they're coming from. And Marty seems to have that same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, whether it's adolescence, pre-adolescence, we do start to wonder, how different am I? I feel out of place. I feel uncomfortable here. I feel like I was born in the wrong time. Things like that. Yeah, I think that's a natural way to think.
And then, strangely, somewhat sadly, you start looking in the mirror and you start seeing your parents in the mirror. You're like, wait a minute. It was all true. It's all been true from the beginning. It's like, what's my dad? Oh, that's me. Dang it.
Yeah. Yeah. You hear the same things coming out of your mouth. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, man. So the thing about George is that he's so conflict averse that his family's pain is more palatable to him than the risk of standing up to Biff and actually doing something. Mm-hmm. He is fine with his own pain. He's fine with their pain. He is afraid to move.
Yeah. I would definitely say so. We don't know exactly what the situation is, but it seems like it's been going on for a long time. They're in a home, they're in a house together, but at what expense? Yeah. What has been sacrificed along the way?
Yeah, and when you're afraid to have healthy conflict, your life feels like a trap. You don't even need a Biff. You could just be in a marriage, and if you're afraid to talk about anything, like it's just going to be like this forever, then you put the shackles on.
Yeah.
You're just like, you have to have the confidence to say, hey, this is worth talking about. You don't have to be mean about it, but you got to be able to have some confidence to say, hey, we got to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's this invisible prison like the McFlys just holding us trapped.
Yeah. Avoidance does not lead to resolution.
All right, so in this movie, we meet Doc Brown. He's kind of a mentor figure, but not entirely mature. Which is, if you lived through the 80s, that was the thing. There was always a crazy uncle somewhere. Like, hey, look at this. Is that ticking? Is that going to explode?
Yeah.
It seemed like that was the thing.
Yeah. He's such a quirky character. Christopher Lloyd is always so entertaining to watch. Just the physicality of it. And and so we don't really know too much about the history. We see a glimpse of a newspaper clipping about the Brown estate or the Brown mansion being burned down. And we kind of wonder if Doc was somehow involved with that or somehow at fault. He doesn't seem to be very good at decision making. He's this sort of mad scientist, inventor type, may not be totally responsible with his money. Now he lives in like a little shack, garage type of thing, and it's just a mess.
It's like you get the feeling from the opening credits, right? It's like plutonium was stolen, and the skateboard rolls up to this box of plutonium underneath the table. It's like, I wonder where that plutonium ended up. Who would be so irresponsible to steal plutonium?
Plutonium.
Like, hi, I'm Doc Brown.
Yeah, he's very one-track minded. He's disappeared for a while. Marty doesn't know where he is. He set up his home to be automatically functioning without him, but so it's all very kind of strange and mysterious at this point.
The thing I noticed is that he treats Marty like an adult. Like, meet me at the mall at midnight or 1 a.m. or whatever. It's like he didn't set an alarm. He expects a grown-up person to show up. And I'm wondering where Marty kind of got his confidence, because you kind of need a role model from that. And I don't know if Doc Brown was mature enough on his own to do it, but he seems to be the only one. He seems to have more confidence than anyone else in the game. And he's treating Marty like an adult. And it's like, hey, you're going to come and we're going to do nuclear experiments together. That's the natural thing for high school kids to do, isn't it? Yeah,
there's obviously some sort of connection there that we're not totally privy to. I'm sure if you go online long enough, you can find some theories and things that
were page or discussion somewhere.
Things that were in the script and left out. But whatever it is, they have some sort of connection. Marty trusts Doc. He seems to like him. He is happy to take care of his dog, and he's happy to get up in the middle of the night and skateboard to the mall. So, whatever that connection is, it seems to, maybe Doc is a responsible sort of father figure to Marty that he doesn't get from George, but we're not exactly sure what is binding them together so closely. Yeah.
And more critical in plot dynamics, he gives Marty a quick introduction on how to run a time machine and conveniently sets it to a very important date in 1955 and accidentally leaves it there.
That's right.
It's like, just for example, the most important date in this entire movie, I'll just randomly enter that right now.
Absolutely.
Because, as we do.
Yeah. Well, it was at the forefront of his mind, you know. It's a good thing he didn't send him back to December 25th, 0000, but that would have been a completely different movie. Yeah.
And then we see the shift. Somehow, Marty, in trying to escape in the time machine, activates the time machine, and he finds himself back in the past.
Yeah, completely by accident. I mean, maybe he knows that the time machine's going to work. He's running from the Libyan terrorist circling the mall and decides, okay, I'm going to try and outrun him. Let's see if you can get up to 90 miles an hour. Now, what does he think is going to happen when he gets there? I don't know, but he tries, and before he gets to 90, he's got to hit 88, which is the magic number, and then all the lights go, and before he knows it, he's gone. He's gone. He's somewhere else. So.
And as you were mentioning off air, you know, it's not like Marty's the guy with this master plan. I got to do A, B, and C. He's just kind of reacting to whatever happens.
He's very reactionary.
Terrorists, let's run. Let's go.
Yeah.
Look, I'm back in the past.
Yeah, he has no plans of being back in the past. He has no plans of going anywhere except, you know, getting up in the morning, wearing the same clothes, and trying to get to school on time.
It's very important not to change the past, like immediately turning Twin Pines into Lone Pine.
Turning into Lone Pine.
The first 30 seconds in the past.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And then almost immediately he meets George in the past, and he can't believe that his dad is this kid.
Well, yeah, we see the unreliability of the DeLorean, you know, which is classic, but he hides it and he makes his way into town, and almost immediately meets his father. They have the same mannerisms, you know. And so he doesn't recognize him right away until
he sees him with Biff, and he sees the same pattern that's been going on for 30 years.
Yeah.
The last scene with George, we were all kind of like mildly disgusted. How can you be like this? Now you kind of have sympathy for George. George seems like that if he just rolls over and plays dead, it'll go away, and we all know that it's never going away.
Yeah.
30 years and counting, it's still going on.
Yeah.
This is never going to end.
Yeah, we see that George is kind of a loner. Marty's kind of a loner. George is sitting in there eating his cereal in the little diner. He's not a bad looking guy. He's clean cut. You know, his clothes are clean and pressed. But he's got his shirt buttoned all the way up to the top, and he's obviously done something to draw Biff's attention, and that's never a good thing. So, he's supposed to be doing Biff's homework, you know, and so he's, you know, must be some sort of intelligent, you know, does his own homework and does Biff's homework, maybe even Biff's cronies' homework, who knows? But he's in a bad spot already, and Marty immediately recognizes it. But he's so shocked by what's happening, and once again, just Michael J. Fox just playing this so well. His eyes are so wide, and he's just clammy and pale, and you're George McFly, and then. Just all their interactions are great. And it's so funny when he keeps trying to not call George Dad.
Yeah.
Daddy-o.
Well, it's hard. It's a whole lifetime of habit. It's hard. Yeah.
So, even though his dad's younger, may not look exactly the same, the aura is there. The vibe is there. It's the same. So.
Yeah. And we've been kind of going through the story framework here. You know, we talked about how Marty is the protagonist, and he faced the shift, but now he's got to get with his tribe. And his tribe are all younger versions of the people he knows.
Yeah.
He meets up with Doc. He's already met with George. He immediately finds Doc and tries to come up with a plan. Tries to stay away from his mom. That doesn't work out so well.
Yeah. Yeah, and so this, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know how to get back home. He follows his father, you know, to try and I don't even know why. Why would he do that? Why would he follow his father? Maybe just because it's familiar.
Right.
Maybe he just feels like he needs to keep an eye on him, but he follows his father into this situation where he screws up events that lead to his parents getting together.
He throws off the whole timeline.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if he had had the true McFly sense of passivity, he was like, oh, I'm stuck in the past. I guess I'll just get a job here in the past and give up. But he doesn't give up. He's like, I want to get home again. And on his way to get home, he screws up his own timeline and he's going to erase his own existence. So, all right, so I got to survive. Yeah. So he ends up with these nested goals. He's like, I got to get my parents back together again. I got to deal with Biff somehow. I got to get back in the time machine. I got to get back home.
Yes.
He has all these, which is good storytelling.
It is.
And but he's this whole series of accomplishments that he has to accomplish, which would come under our heading of adversity. He has all these adversities and try-fail cycles.
Yes, definitely.
The biggest try-fail is trying to coach his dad and growing a spine. It's like, we got to show her that you, George McFly, are a fighter. Someone that's going to stand up for yourself. Someone's going to protect her.
Yeah.
And that right there is George's problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And he tells him, he gives him that line, you can do anything if you put your mind to it, sort of thing,
right.
which his dad repeats back to him later. But I'm
going to say his life-changing advice, that's a little cheesy. Well, I've always said if you put your mind to it, and now I've written this whole novel. And it's like, I think I might need more than one platitude to get me through a novel.
Yeah. We do have some years in between there that we don't get to see that progression.
Magically. There's your clue. Oh, I'm an instant success. This is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, but we suspend our disbelief, and it is great storytelling. And even as a side note, this script, this screenplay was used, may still even be used, I don't know, and at Cal Arts for script writing and screenplay writing for potential future movie makers.
This is a good example of it.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about your favorite scene. My favorite scene is when George finally discovers the spine. And we're skipping ahead again. But I mean, if you don't know, if you're watching this podcast and you're not familiar with the movie, I don't know what's wrong with your life. You need to get something figured out. We all know how this movie goes. So skipping a little bit ahead, George is going to have the whole scene set up with Marty's going to pretend to be a bully, and he jumps up in the middle of it, and surprise, in the middle of his fake trap is a lion, is Biff, the Morlock right there.
Yeah.
And Biff's like, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. And it's like, go away. Like, you need to leave. The stiffest delivery, you leave her alone. The fakest delivery ever, right? And he walks away, and he's thinking about it, and you see something snap. And he's like, no, for once in my life, this will not stand.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes, take whatever chance, pay whatever price. I am not the kind of person who walks away from something like this.
Yeah.
And then you see that fist. And that, to me, now, everyone has their own favorite scene, and maybe it's because I'm an ex-Marine, but when this passive guy makes a fist and says, I'm willing to fight for someone, that, to me, that little hairs on my spine went up. And I'm like, I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that scene and the one that follows it in the dance and the school
because he repeats the pattern.
Right.
So in good storytelling, you make this decision. My life has changed, but before it's over, you have to test that resolution to see if that was just a one-off or you're really ready to follow through on that. And in the dance, he's like, once again, I'm sorry, I mean steal your thunder, but
no.
He walks away. Oh yeah, you cut in, and he's like, wait a minute, this is not who I am anymore. And he comes back. He's like, I don't even think so.
Yeah.
This is new George you're talking to.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, and you've hit on this before in some of the other podcasts, is like that little snippet right there is George's whole hero's journey.
Yes.
Right there.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
And it's very, very
short.
truncated, very short, but it's, it covers all the bases right there. And it's interesting because then we see that he is the dynamic character. He's the one that's changing. Marty doesn't really change much throughout the whole movie. He's not very dynamic. But the people that he comes in contact with, they are the dynamic ones. They are the ones that change.
And we mentioned this in the episode about Shawshank Redemption, is there's a thing called a catalyst character, where he is the protagonist, but he's changing the people all around him.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and Marty's another one like that.
Yeah, he's very
He
good
makes
at
a few
that.
changes, but his character arc is pretty shallow.
Right.
George's character arc is very short and, and like everything has changed.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I like about the dance scene thing is that already after that, I mean, from punching out Biff and then the dance scene is like the story has changed. You can see that George's life's journey and his life story has taken a sharp turn. He's already become a legend. Do you see? He knocked out Biff. Hey, you should run for student government. And instantly, it's a little exaggerated. In reality, It wouldn't all happen in one night. But you can see all this stuff happening. Is that when you make this change, it opens up these new opportunities.
Yes.
And these the opportunities were coming on a buffet on a silver platter. George, do this, be a great, awesome guy, which was obviously exaggerated, but it shows that he has a new story now.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, and that's what you had to do because we're getting in the time machine and see the future. So unfortunately, we don't get to see George learn and grow. So we get these little hints. George, you could grow here. You could grow here. You could grow here. It's like, I think I will.
That's right. Yeah. It is funny. They're really just nailing it home. And Marty doesn't really see any of that because he's busy trying to get out of there and get back to the time machine.
He's got to have electricity hijinks and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's already looking ahead because, he runs into them in the stairwell and he's like, if one of your kids ever sets fire to the living room, and they're just kind of like,
oddly suspicious
we just
advice.
got together.
Oddly specific advice.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, how did they not realize that their youngest child looks just like this guy that they knew back in 30 years before? But I don't know. There's all kinds of explanations for that, I guess.
And then when he does get back to the time machine, Doc is trying to get him going. He's got this playing with the power cords and stuff.
Oh, it's just one obstacle after the other. Yes.
As he's saying it from the clock, I'm like, wasn't there another movie with the clock? And it was Harold Lloyd with Safety Last or something, like silent film. And like, are they related, Christopher Lloyd and Harold Lloyd? No. Google says no. But they were definitely recreating that scene.
Yes.
Another
throwback.
Scene,
another callback. But yeah, it's just about ready. Everything's going well. And then it comes unplugged. So Doc's got to go up and try and plug it back in. And then he yanks on the thing and then unplugs it somewhere else. And then he's got to zip line down. And Marty gets to the starting point and the car won't start again.
And that's a good illustration of the try-fail cycle we talk about. It's like, what kind of story would it have been if you plugged it in like, oh, that was easy. It was, of course there were going to be obstacles. Of course, if you plug it on this end, it's going to unplug on the other end.
Well, and that leads us to, time itself has become a character in the story. It's like almost like, does time want them to make these changes? Does time want them? It's almost like how a set or a house or or an object can become a character in the story. It's almost like time has become a character in the story.
You get that in some of these time travel stories. It's like time doesn't want to be reset. It has inertia.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So the thing that this makes me think about and the whole time travel and stuff, just as a random call out to us, is that, you hear this, you've seen this, I saw it as a meme one time and it hit me hard. It was like people are always talking about going in the past and making one small change to fix their current present reality and ignoring the fact that one small change in their current present reality can branch out into huge improvements in the future.
Yes.
And I've mentioned on the show before that there was decades of my life I was begging for a time machine. I wanted to go back and fix all the George moments in my life. And so far that hasn't happened. But what I found is that I've learned from them. As you stop pining for the past and say, all right, what can I do now for future Brent to not want to get a time machine and come back to this year and straighten me out? What can I do for that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely think some people, and maybe all of us at some point, get hung up on that idea of, well, if I had done something different in the past, if I had made different decisions, then my life now would be different. And while that may be true, we can't really do anything to change what has already happened. All we can do is change what is happening now, because the reality is that we are time traveling. It's like, at Epcot Center, you get on Spaceship Earth. The Earth is moving through time. We are moving through time. And so, if you take that mindset and apply it to now, here, today, in this moment, that the decisions that I make now are going to affect my future. You can, I don't know, just take advantage of of that time.
Yeah, well, we are all time travelers.
Yes.
We just go in one direction, 60 minutes an hour. Yeah. And we have to deal with that and lean into that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And Marty wasn't trying to change the future. I think that's an important point that we may have already alluded to. He was
trying not to change the future.
He was trying not to change. All he wanted to do was get back home, get back to his girlfriend, get back to his band, and it seemed like everything that he tried to do to meet that goal was another mistake.
And you can see Doc perk his ears up. It's like, yeah, I think George is even more. It's like, what? You changed the path? No time. Let's get in the time machine. And it's like, we tried not to change. We worked. Doc was the walking reminder not to change the timeline. I'm not going to read your note. I'm not going to change the timeline. I'm not. But in the end, everyone changed the timeline.
That's right. Yeah. So there's
presumably for the better.
Yeah. And those were those kinds of themes, the reoccurring messages, yes, don't change the space-time continuum, but also, history repeats itself. Yeah. That's a big one, like these lines that have been delivered in the future and the present were also being delivered in the past. And as you go through the trilogy, you see it happen again and again. Each movie kind of follows that same template, that same pattern.
And we mentioned that in the 80s, the 50s seemed like a long ways ago. But, they were really leaning into that whole history repeats itself,
Yeah.
If you didn't live through the 80s like I did, I was in high school and I noticed like a lot of the 50 styles came back again, just slightly retooled for the 80s. You were rolling up your collars, you were popping your collars, this whole Fonzie kind of Happy Days thing, which actually took place was actually filmed in the 80s, the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
It was a thing. And so they really leaned in that trend. It's like, not only are the fashions coming back, the whole family patterns can come back and cycle over and over again like a bad fad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this nostalgia kind of phenomenon. Yeah.
But I like the way that they leaned into it, the storytelling, to say like fashion's not the only thing that comes back.
Yeah.
Your Biffs will keep coming back unless you deal with them.
That's right.
Andrew, you know what that reminds me of?
Tell me.
It reminds me to plug your book again. This is a great book. You need to buy it now.
I hope you do. The main character of this book is Taylor, and he is very much a George McFly kind of character. Starts out with hopes and dreams, kind of ends up with the wrong people, has a lot of negative things happen to him, and his outcome is not quite as sunny and cheery as George McFly's, but there are some other characters in the story that appear in the other book and will appear in the coming book. So I hope, I hope you guys go out. It's an easy read. It's not very long, and it's broken up into short chapters. So,
thank you. Thank you very much.
What
are you waiting for? Get the book. All right. So Marty returns back to the future. Oh, that'd be a handy title, Back to the Future, don't you think?
That's brilliant.
And, as they say in the hero's journey, he's a man of two worlds. He's gone back to the special world of the past. He's gone back. He's returned to his ordinary world, and now he's learned lessons. What he learned, he didn't learn kung fu or anything fancy like that. He learned to see his father as a regular human being and how he got to be the way he is.
Yeah.
And he made a few changes to coach his own father a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he comes back, and everything has changed. The living room goes from dark and dingy. Last time we saw the living room was the middle of the night, and now it's daylight and the sun's coming up and everything's bright. In the old living room, I didn't notice this the first time until I was looking at some of these photos. You have this little portable TV on top of the dead hulk of the big heavy console TV.
Yes.
Because like in the 70s and 80s, you had these big heavy console TVs, and when they died, it's like they're too heavy to haul out. We'll just put another one on top of it. That's gone. Everything's all clean. Brother's wearing a suit.
Yes.
Sisters wearing better clothes, more confident. Mom and dad come in and they're thin and trim and fancy. The new book is coming out, being published today.
Yeah.
They're flirting and still in love.
Yeah.
And everything has changed.
Everything has changed. Biff is, out there polishing the cars. Yeah.
But as you know, in movie making, you have to make the change visual. Like where even the house has changed. Even the house feels happier.
Same house, is completely different atmosphere.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So although I do like this movie better now that I rewatched it again, I do have a couple small complaints about it, and it's what we were talking about before. That the time machine feels like you're cheating growth. You would love to see how George actually grows. the fact that this came out in the mid 80s is actually kind of spot on. They did this easy button, one and done. I went back in the past, surgically changed everything, and everything's magically better. Yeah. And when they define the new McFly's growth, it's almost all exclusively in money and style of living. It's like, do they have more friends? Do they have better mental health? There's all these dimensions of wealth and success, but they're in true 80s fashion. It's like, look, we're yuppies now. And it's like, yay, I think. And even as a kid when this came out and Marty gets the truck and his family is rich and stuff, or richer, and I'm like, I was a little skeptical in high school. I'm like, that feels like a kind of shallow definition of success. I mean, I'm glad that it's as good as it is, but it's like just moving up a tax bracket. Is that how we define winning?
Right.
Which is maybe not everyone has that question. That's how we ended up with the show. It's because I was always, even as a teenager, I'm asking those questions.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, that's a good point. And I think if you look at 80s movies as a whole or 80s television, the wealth and success is an attribute of happiness, or as a clue to happiness, just thinking of...
It's a shorthand for it.
Shorthand for happiness, whether it's... if you look at family ties, this family... The parents are hippies, right? And they have found love, they have found satisfaction in their life, but Michael J. Fox is a son. In order for him to feel like he's got purpose and happiness and success,
he's got to make money.
He's got to make money. He's got to do really well in school. He's got to wear the nice clothes with the tie and everything.
I remember some random scene. It's like grandma's getting everybody presents, and for you, Alex, stock certificates. Like that, you remembered, It's like you bought him stock for his birthday or something. And you're like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and or it could be The Cosby Show, or Growing Pains, or things like that. The good, happy, successful family lives in a nice house. Everything goes smoothly. Everybody wears nice clothes. Whereas the unhappy, the grumpy, the unsuccessful people, like
maybe the word is coded.
Coded.
Wealth is coded as success.
Yeah.
Or success is coded as wealth.
Yeah.
I get it. We could probably do a whole another episode on that.
Probably could. Yeah.
All right. So a little interesting, I think we have time, a little interesting side note is the timeline of Christopher Lloyd. So not only was Michael J. Fox was in a ton of movies in 1985, and you can look those up. But what's interesting about Christopher Lloyd is that, this movie is in 85. In 84, Christopher Lloyd was a vicious Klingon captain who kills Kirk's son. In 85, he was a mad scientist who built a time machine. In 86, his Klingon spaceship is repurposed as a time machine to carry whales into the future.
Right.
So Christopher Lloyd and time machines are kind of like synonymous now.
They just go hand in hand.
He just can't seem any movie he's in has got to have a time machine somewhere.
Yeah, it does seem to be typecast. Yes.
And another cool thing, and this is completely off topic, but what I liked about it is when Marty comes back to the future and there's this homeless guy sleeping on the bench and he's under all the newspapers and the lightning flashes and the wind goes, like, where have I seen that scene before? And I'm like, it was the Matrix, that guy in the subway scene on the bench. He said lights and flashing in the newspaper, and I'm like, if this homeless guy turns into Agent Smith, I'm fast forwarding this movie. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's like with the Christopher Lloyd with the Harold Lloyd thing. It's like, let's do a little allusion to these other movies. Let's have some fun.
Yes.
As long as we're doing this, let's put something cool in there.
Definitely. And I think, The Matrix is another one. There's a time travel element because everybody thinks that they're living in a certain period of time, whereas it's actually hundreds of years later when the robots have taken over. And and so I think the idea, you guys have kind of talked about this a little bit before, the idea of time travel has been in the human consciousness for a long time, right. Even before H.G. Wells's Time Machine book came out, it was a part of the consciousness. It was something that people were thinking about, wanting to change the past, or conversely, wondering what's going to happen in the future, whether that be, apocalyptic, the worst thing that could happen, or, a bright, happy, sunny future. So there's so many, different stories, some very well done, some not so well done, some that are funny, some that are darker and more serious.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that we think about. But I think if we try not to get too focused, too just wrapped up in, being concerned with, if I had done something different or, and kind of change that focus, not even on the future, but being present in the present and making those decisions that are positive, like Marty did, affecting people positively, rubbing off on people with your good attributes, or just.
I mean, that's a great point. Is that Marty didn't show up to be a coach. He was just trying to get his life back on track, and just by doing the right things and being in the right place, he turned the whole timeline around.
Yeah.
Not on intention. It wasn't Mother Teresa sign up for a time machine to go fix all of history.
Yeah.
He was just like a kid doing what he needed to do, and just almost accidentally, he can create this positive flow.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a fun element to watch and see happen in the story, because he is such a likable character, and he just delivers those lines so innocently, and even the times where he is not confident, where he is not being assertive or aggressive, and he's just kind of going along and taking his punches. He is very, very convincing and very relatable, I think. Too many times we see, these weird sci-fi movies or fantasy movies where weird abstract things happen to people and they just kind of take it and go with the flow. But he does not. He's very freaked out by the whole
realistic reaction.
Yeah. And we didn't touch on really any of the sequels because I feel like the first movie stands alone. I don't really even think that it was meant to be a trilogy, and there were some character arcs and character development that happened later on in the other movies, and we get some background of some of the other characters, and we see different flaws and things that were kind of retroactively kind of tied in or woven into the storylines, which work well. I enjoy the other movies, but I don't feel they're as strong as the first one. And
seems
that
a little retconned over there.
Yeah.
Let's expand this story that never was meant to carry this weight.
Right. Yeah. So you're able to appreciate them and enjoy them on their own terms. But the first one is, really a gem.
One thing that this whole series of going back and talking to people's favorite movies has accidentally done for me is help me learn why I didn't like some of these movies. I went back and talked about why I didn't like the Shawshank the first time I saw it. And as I was watching this movie again, I was actually having emotional reactions, and not all of them were good because, in all honesty, my particular family origin was like the previous McFly without the time machine. And it didn't really change. No one came with a time machine and saved me. And there was a whole feeling in my family of just kind of being trapped and just kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, and no one really seemed like a protagonist or anything. And so I think that's a good point in applying this to our lives, is like a time machine is not coming for you. We need to do the slow incremental work of George without the fast forward button. This is what we have to do when we find ourselves trapped like that. Like, how can we get untrapped?
Yeah.
And that, I think, brings us to our takeaways. So I have questions for you, Bracketeers. Is there an area in your life where you feel trapped? Are you waiting for a time machine? Or maybe, just maybe, it's up to you to be the protagonist? Are there family patterns that work in your life that you would be better off without? What are you doing about that? Or are you just like George, waiting for something to just magically change itself? And are you obsessing about the past instead of making the changes you need to build a better future? That's all we have for you this time. Thank you. We'll catch you with new episodes soon. And goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. If you're looking for more ways to build a meaningful and satisfying life, your next video is standing by.